This is an absolute hammer blow to England's prospects moving forward. An absolute hammer blow. There is no other way to put it. This is potentially seismic, tectonic, plate shifting level news. The news that Tom Willis is moving to France and therefore going to be out of contention for England. A player that is leaving as he's not even in his prime. He will be, his prime years are going to be coming up. He's just established himself in the England team. He's established himself as the most destructive ball carrying forward in England, a critical part of the team moving forward, and he's going to Bordeaux. I'm absolutely gutted. I'm absolutely gutted for a number of reasons. I want the Premiership to keep advancing as a competition, but most importantly, I want England to keep progressing as an international team, and this is huge. So we've got to get into this. You've got to tell me what your thoughts are. Let me know in the chat down below. Give the video a thumbs up and hit subscribe. Am I going over the top here? Thing is, there's so many conversations which stem from this. It's about the strength of the Premiership and the relative strength of the top 14 in France and the lure that the top 14 has. And is that going to be a problem for England moving forward? It's about the old question of eligibility of international players. Should they have to play in England to play for England? Is that still something we should see in 2025 and beyond? And what does it mean for the English national team? Who are the premier number 8s? Who are there people that can fill the void that is going to be left by Tom Willis? And why has he made this decision? Mark McCall keeps his cards very close to his chest, the Saracens boss. And, quite rightfully and quite respectfully, he said when he confirmed the move on the telly after a brilliant Saracens performance in which, again, Tom Willis was absolutely immense, just demolishing Sale Sharks. Mark McCall said that, Tom Willis had a chat with him, explained his reasons, but they're not for Mark McCall to explain. I'm sure we will get that explanation at some point. But what are you thinking after this news? Let me know. So, there's a lot going on here, isn't there? There's a lot going on here. Fundamentally, the reason this is such big news, Tom Willis has obviously been at UBB before. When Wasps went bust, he went to Bordeaux because they're, the exceptional circumstances. Jacques Willis went to Stade Toulousain, and Thomas Willis went to UBB. They loved him there. He came back last year because he wanted England recognition. He had that England ambition burning brightly. He came back, was absolutely brilliant for Saracens, got himself in the England reckoning, and most recently in Argentina was immense. Now he's putting that on the back burner and saying, I've achieved my dream, but I'm going to let that go 2 years out from a Rugby World Cup. And that is why this is such a blow. 26 years of age. A very unique set of skills, without wanting to sound like Liam Neeson in that movie. I've got a special set of skills. I will find you, and I will run through your defence. World Cup 2 years away. He is on a central contract, meaning he gets £150,000 on top of his Saracens deal to play for England. And I would have had Tom Willis down as a crucial cog in the England machine, both next month and over the next 2 years, building up to the Rugby World Cup. So this is massive. And I should be a real big worry for the RFU, for England fans, for the Premiership. The short-term conversation is who's going to be in the England squad that's announced later today. I'll do a video on that when that comes out. The longer-term question is who's going to replace Tom Willis in the England squad. Chandler Cunningham South being moved to a number 8 at club level. Maybe that'll be the answer. Callum Chicks playing well in the Premiership. That's for another day. What I want to get into is why has he made this call? And of course, we don't know the answer, but I'm going to speculate a little bit. I think fundamentally what this demonstrates is the attraction of the top 14. And there's a number of attractions of the top 14. So a player, even at one of the top clubs in England, with a realistic chance of winning silverware, at least at club level, on good whack, he'll be getting paid well. And I'm sure the deal that Saracens offered him was competitive. And on top of that, he gets a central contract of 150k. But the top 14 wins out. Why? Well, fundamentally, the top 14 has got the biggest television deal for any league in the world. It is watched by millions of people every week. They have got the French domestic rugby is one of the few examples in the world of long-term, big picture thinking. Let me give you an example. So I'm literally invested in Pro D2, the French second tier of French rugby. It wasn't available to watch in the UK and Ireland, and I've made that possible by buying the rights for it and putting it out on my other channel, FR UK. Now, all of those clubs in the French second division get one vote on a board table that they sit around, and the presidents from Bordeaux and Toulouse sit around the same table, and everyone has one vote. That is not what happens at world rugby level, and it's not what happens in England, where you have disproportionate power concentrated within just a few people. And what they managed to convince in France is the presidents of the most powerful teams, like Bordeaux, like Toulouse, to be turkeys voting for Christmas, and in the short term, lose money themselves to give power to other people to grow the pie over the long term, and what we've got as a consequence of that long-term thinking a long time ago and forward thinking is we have got, by a mile, the best domestic league in the world, the richest, the most watched, the best teams, the best players. It brings me no joy to say that, but that is just a reality. And that on a week-to-week level, Tom Willis will not be able to stand and play for his country, which he would have grown up dreaming of doing. He will not be able to do that in front of 82,000 people at Twickenham, which I'm sure he will miss madly. But do you know what he will get to do? He'll get to do it in front of 25, 30,000 people in Bordeaux every single week. The atmosphere at away grounds is incredible. The week-to-week competition in the top 14 is unbelievable. And he's chosen that. And that should be a massive worry for the Premiership. So these central contracts that are being dished out by the RFU, make no mistake, that is the RFU subsidising the Premiership because it doesn't have enough money to compete. Make no mistake, they can try and dress it up lots and lots of ways. Oh, it's because England want more control over the physiotherapy of players and what position they're playing and when they get rest and all that sort of thing. Yeah, fine. That may be true. That's not the reason the central contracts are happening. The reason the central contracts are happening is because the clubs cannot afford to compete, and more players will go unless the RFU stump up £150,000 a pop to give to players like Tom Willis. But even with that, then they're still not able to compete. Will this be a little gradual drain of talent? It's a massive worry if it is. So the quality of the top 14 is fundamentally one of the reasons that is behind this. Make no mistake, my thought is, and I'm getting into speculation here, and this only Tom Willis will know this, and only Tom Willis will decide if he chooses to put this forward, if it is even true. But I wouldn't mind betting that the pain involved in what happened to Wasps is something which factors heavily in Tom Willis's thinking. So 150 years of history was just wiped out like that. Same goes for London Irish. Same goes for, Worcester are back now, but Jersey. English club rugby was in such a mess that the boyhood club of Tom and Jack Willis went under, and there's no sign of it coming back in the short or medium term. Hopefully it will in the longer term. But that's got to hurt. All the people that he grew up playing with, the bunch of lads that he was with, not least his brother, that was torn apart because of the mismanagement of the English club rugby game and English rugby in general. And I wouldn't mind betting that there is a kind of hangover of bitterness about what happened to his team. And I can understand that. And so, yeah, and I think that brother factor is one not to underplay as well. So I've interviewed Tom Willis a bunch of times and Jack Willis, both on my other channel, FR UK. I've chatted to Jack Willis, been out there to Toulouse to speak to him. And in my role when I was on BT Sport interviewing players in the week and before, during and after matches, the relationship between these two brothers it's amazing. Now, it seems like a really obvious thing to say, oh, two brothers really, really love each other. No, this is like best friend, like so tight you cannot imagine how close they are. And I'm certain that this has played a significant factor in his thinking. Because Jack Willis is very, very happy in Toulouse. Tom Willis has a nephew. Jack Willis has a lovely house in a beautiful part of the world. They've had long-term girlfriends. I think it might be wife in Jack Willis's case. But Tom Willis is just a couple of years younger than Jack. And I wouldn't mind betting at 26, he's probably thinking about wanting to settle down, have a family as well, and see his nephew grow up. And now I'm just wildly speculating here, but it's not cheap living in London. It is so ridiculously expensive. And if you know anything about the southwest of France, or just France in general, land, property, relative to England, is cheap. So your money goes a lot further. And if you're at the stage in your life where you want to start growing roots, growing a family, making plans for the future, London is not the easiest place to do that. And France is quite a good place to do that. If you're on if you're on the kind of wedge that Tom Willis will be at Bordeaux. But he will just be 2 hours down the road from his brother and his nephew, who honestly, I until you see it yourself, you can't. Like, I have a brother that I'm like, we're within a year and a half age-wise, and we're tight. Me and my brother are tight. These two, it's honestly another level. So I think it's about Jack, Tom being near Jack, and also, you know, when you start having kids and things, you start thinking about your parents, the grandparents of the kids, and them being both close together. I think a lot of family decisions might be going on in this. I do think there's a little bit of a big FU to the RFU for letting what happened to Wasps happen, and for having the eligibility rules that mean that if Tom Willis is doing well for England, he's not allowed to go and play with Jack, his brother, who's played at club level with. He's not allowed to because the rules don't allow it. And I do think that might be part of it. But whatever the case, it is, it's gutting for England fans. It really, really is. Final thing is, I guess the question, do you think this should open up the topic again of the eligibility of playing for England? Should you have to play in England to play for England? I understand the reasons why. Fundamentally, I think the reasons are wrong, which I've always said. I think it's protectionism of the Premiership. I think the Premiership should survive or fail on its own 2 feet, on its own merits, and not because players are being held hostage by the lure of playing for their country in order to play club rugby in England. I just think that's wrong. I think it means players can't earn what they're capable and deserve to earn. Now, if Tom Willis went to France and Steve Borthwick decided, well, you're not going to be able to come and join some of our training camps because your club won't allow it, therefore I'm not going to pick you in the squad, that would be a perfectly legitimate decision. But it should be a decision that Steve Borthwick gets to make. It shouldn't be a decision, in my opinion, that the RFU get to make unilaterally, regardless. That means if you go outside of England, you cannot play for England. I don't think that's right. So I've always thought that Jack Willis should be able to play for England if the head coach wants to use him, given the restrictions of playing in France. And I think the same should be true of Tom Willis and any player. And my views are consistent on this, because when the R360 news story came out about the unions corralling to prevent players from going abroad, saying that you won't be able to play international rugby, I think that's wrong as well. And it is noticeable. I'll just finish with this. It's very, very noticeable. I have noticed some of the same people who a week ago were saying, yeah, that's absolutely right. The unions shouldn't let players go and play for R360 and play international rugby. Some of those people are also the very same people who are now saying, well, I don't think the eligibility rules about players going and working in France is right. They should change that. You've got to be consistent in your views. If you're not consistent and your views change just depending on, I want Tom Willis in, but I don't like this R360 malarkey, you've got no principles. So at least I'm happy that I am consistent in my thoughts. And fair play if you think that no one should be able to play R360 and play for England, or should be able to play for France and play for England. I disagree, but I can respect that opinion because it's consistent. I'm gutted about this. I really am. And I'm going to be down in the comments with you because I'm interested what you think. I'll see you on the next video. The next video will probably be a video about the England squad, which is going to be announced in just a few hours' time.